Okay, welcome back, everyone. So the next session that we have is our first panel session of the day, which is on mobile customer engagement. So if we can all sort of settle down. If I can ask the panelists to sort of make their way to the stage now, that would be great. Thank you. So just a couple of small announcements. On the tables, you'll find a leaflet that looks like this, which is for an upcoming masterclass. So if that's relevant for you or something that you may be interested in, then if you can complete that and pass it to the desk over here on your left, that would be great. And finally, the raffle. So if you haven't dropped your business card into the Fresh Media desk outside, do so. Some good prizes on offer there. Okay, awesome. So it looks like we're ready. Okay, so like I said, the next panel, or the first panel of the day, is on mobile customer engagement. I'm going to let the guys down here introduce themselves. So yeah, please let's start from there.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Nadeem Khoury. I work at OMD. To give you a little bit of history of why I'm here, I guess when I first joined about 5 years ago, I was heading up mobile investments for the group, for Omnicom. And then, as of very recently, I've expanded my responsibilities to cover, creative as well as content, mainly because, mobile became a silo that should not be a silo. So yeah, I'm very excited to be here and look forward to the rest of the conversation.
Great, thank you. Mohammed.
Hi everyone, I'm Mohammed Ashfaqur Rahman. I'm from New Takaful. I head up customer experience and strategy. I am very much keen actually in relation to the mobile technology, so making customer more engaged with the products we offer. And that's all about me, and looking forward to the next round of discussion.
Okay.
Hello everyone, I'm Nahid Chaudhry. I'm a digital immigrant. Just gave away my age. I've spent the last couple of decades in the corporate field with Unilever, Mondelez, and Hershey around the world, which has been a great ride. And now I'm the CEO of my own consulting company, Rainmaker. And we help businesses integrate just this sort of stuff into their growth plans for increased revenue. I have 4 digital natives at home, and they make me feel tremendously old. They're 5, 8, and 11. Anybody in the audience can identify with that, feeling like a dinosaur when you talk to your children about digital? Yeah, there you go. And you.
Okay, hi.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mohammed Ibrahim. I teach marketing and advertising at the American University of Sharjah. I did a lot of research. I'm a scholar. I did a lot of research on digital. My first publication on mobile was in 2008, so I have the feeling that I started very earlier to start to understand what's happening in this digital era. And thank you very much for the invitation. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, guys. So we've got a very kind of diverse panel here, so I think this will make for some sort of interesting debate. If you've got questions, please keep a note, and we'll be kind of handing over to you guys probably in the next sort of 15 or 20 minutes, so be ready for that. I think let's just start with a very kind of maybe a generic question, but just one to kind of move things along nicely. What's your connection, with sort of mobile engagement? I mean, what is your approach and what is your sort of connection with it in terms of your everyday life?
Well, at the end of the day, I work at a media agency, and when I came on board, it was really about trying to figure out how brands should get into the mobile space. Now that's a challenging question because ordinarily the instinct reaction is let's build an app. I think if you guys are in this industry, you'd know that not all brands should be building apps. The fact that we have the banking industry in the panel just shows you that's actually a really good opportunity to build an app. It makes total sense, but oftentimes just doesn't really add up. I think it's an expensive sort of route to take, and there's a lot of platforms out there that you can benefit from. in terms of what we do, I think, predominantly, it's really about getting onto platforms in the mobile realm, be it, an ad network or, the likes of Facebook and Twitter and all of that, which is obviously cross-platform. So yeah, we spend a lot of time doing that, but also we're very focused on innovation and mobility. And, talking about context earlier, I think is absolutely essential, because today what mobile brings is context. Digital it's quite similar to digital, except I know where you are and I can advertise accordingly. And it can go down to brick and mortar. I think it's super interesting when we can actually tap into mobile loyalty, for instance, or things like that. So that's where we really tap into mobility, and I think we're quite excited about the fact that with innovation, mobile investments become more interesting. I said earlier that building an app might not be the right thing, but today with innovation, with the likes of beacon technology, all of a sudden there's a two-way conversation. The mobile phone essentially has more power than what astronauts had when they went up to the Apollo. We've got a lot of power in our mobile devices, but they're not really being utilized, predominantly because they're in your pocket, and when they're in your pocket, it's like you walking down the street with your eyes closed. With beacons, all of a sudden, it's changing that dynamic, and we're very excited about really pushing that forward with the brands that we manage.
Great, thank you. Mohammed, what about you?
Well, to me, I find mobile as a powerful distribution channel. All of us sitting here, I see actually 100% penetration, 100% user of mobile devices. And in that context, I find actually every customer, we actually should target actually every customer through mobile apps. So, and that was the idea actually I came up with, that you can break all the barriers, you can reduce your acquisition cost and all the stuff if you have something which is simpler, authentic, accurate, and executable, and that's through mobile apps. So to me, it's important that it is simple. We are crowded with number of technological solution, apps and devices, How simpler you offer the solution to your customer is going to make the difference. And another point which is important from my perspective is that it's important that we treat ourselves exactly the way we treat other, or maybe I should put forward this way actually. So all of us actually seen as customers, we should take ourselves actually into their shoes. We should see ourselves as customers. So when we look at ourselves as customer, we feel that how we would like to be treated by the companies, by different suppliers or product providers. So in that context, it can make a lot of difference in the thinking process. So you need to address the needs of the customer as you see yourself actually in their shoes. So that's the engagement. I personally find that mobile apps is going to change the dynamics. It's going to reduce the cost, not increasing the cost. I know actually some people would maybe disagree with me from the technological investment that you need to employ into the solutions, but it's going to reduce the cost, and it's going to make like more interactive, more engaging experience with the customers.
Okay, thank you. Nahid?
I think in my experience, and I'll put on my consumer goods hat, mobile engagement has been seen as an add-on to a digital strategy, whereas there's significant potential to build it into your growth plans. And this is across the world. I mean, the world's still coming to terms with the fact that there is so much decision-making power that has been shifted to the consumer. I mean, they carry your app, it tells them, it gives them purchase coupons, it gives them advice, it's at the moment of truth in the store. It's a much bigger playing game than just digital. So it's changing the rules of the game. From a consumer marketing perspective, it's very much about building, and this is ironic because it's digital, but it's about building an emotional relationship with the consumer. Because you gain the consumer's trust, the consumer selected you. It's not mobile advertising, it's mobile engagement. The consumer has selected you, they've clicked on the button by their choice. So in their heads, they are far more likely to interact with your brand than had they just been bombarded with mobile advertising. I'd like to share an example actually.
Sure.
Recently I used to I was working in China for the last couple of years, and there was a fantastic example that we picked up. I was with the Hershey company at the time. A fantastic example that Coke had, and it's very simple. So you know all about Coke Music Studio and their connection with music. They had a program called the Music Icon. And they just had to scan, you had to scan the code, the QR code on the bottle. It would, there were these favorite Chinese songs that you could download and you could share them on. And actually, theoretically, I thought, sounds a bit boring. They got, over the course of about 3 to 4 months, about 1.5 billion impressions. And yeah, China's big, but 1.5 billion impressions is a lot. They got 2.3 million unique consumer viewers. Unique viewers. They went to the top trending in Weibo and in WeChat, which is the equivalent of WhatsApp, for a couple of months. It was significant. Now, one of the problems, and I'll now switch to the problems of mobile engagement, is that the measurement is nowhere in the world. In a past life, when I was with Hershey, we were activating the UK, and we tried to go, we talked to teams in the US, we talked to teams in the UK, Canada, China, here, about how do we measure how much of our revenue is coming as a direct result of that social engagement. And that's a big gray area, not just for us over here, but for overall, and potentially an inhibitor in terms of encouraging people to invest in mobile engagement. But if you think about the fact that you've got the consumer and you've got a relationship with them and you've got them to the moment of truth in the store, then you know it's a sure revenue driver.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you. So I would like to start to respond to your question about with this statement by Peter Drucker, the management guru. Once he said that we are in the business not to make money, but to create and cultivate a relationship between the brand and the people. And for me, the mobile platform, the mobile device or medium has made this dream or this wish happen. Because the mobile phone, in a sense, has brought a new paradigm while disrupting the types of market. So when we speak about the markets, we can identify the 3 types: the undifferentiated, the mass market, then the second one is the differentiated, the third one is the niche market. But now with the mobile phone, we have the 4th one, which is the micro market or the one-to-one market. So here, the brand, they can communicate, they can personalize their messages, their offers, and their emotional connection with the consumers, with the people. So that's the moment of let's say, the moment of happiness with the mobile phone as a platform.
Okay. I mean, look, I think that's interesting. I mean, just from what the 4 of you spoke about there very briefly, I mean, you know, I think that kind of leads on to one of the challenges, because all of you almost defined success of mobile engagement in a slightly different way, right? So, you know, you mentioned sort of beacons and engagement, acquisition, you know, revenue obviously is like, you know, important for the long-term sort of sustainability of mobile. But, you know, is that part of the problem? Is it that, you know, we don't really have very clear or clearly defined KPIs? You know, how do we overcome that? I'll open that up to whoever wants to tackle it.
I think perseverance. You know, again, we're very focused on transcending. But what is a problem is the challenges in market. I think, you know, priorities are not necessarily in line with some of the visions that we have. But I think a lot of it has to do with infrastructure as well. So, you know, if you talk to a big retailer, maybe manages multiple different brands, you know, you have to go into the POS, and you need to really understand, can we tap into that POS to do something really, really innovative, right? If we don't tap into the POS, which is usually the biggest hurdle, you're limited to sort of, I would say, banal opportunities.
Sure.
So I think it really requires multiple parties within a corporation. So you're not just talking to the marketing team, but you're probably talking to the team that's, you know, responsible for the POS systems and the infrastructure. And so it's a more high-level conversation if you want to do this right. Now that being said, there's obviously easier ways to tap into the mobile space. by not maybe innovating on a mobile app level, but more on a media side. You know, at the end of the day, you're getting to the eyeballs where they're spending most of their time. So there is still a lot to be done in the mobile space, but when it comes to, you know, app building, infrastructure, technology, it comes with a whole host of challenges, and it's not necessarily because a client is not willing. It's the dynamics of what is required to get there, and I think that's the challenge.
So you get sort of cross-departmental complexities and all of those
Correct.
things that come into equation. Nahid, I mean, from a consulting perspective, how do you tackle that?
You saw me pick up the mic. No, I just wanted to add on to Nadim's point about how it's not just marketing. And this is a critical issue that's confronting the global community in terms of mobile engagement, which is that, and again going back to the point that it's not an add-on, it has to have the IT team involved, it has to be an organization commitment to it. And I'll just share a few examples. Right now it's viewed as a pure marketing area, so the marketing guys can deal with it. Now when it's also, and as you go into apps, it adds value through cost reduction. So there is revenue through external and internal customers. And that's why it's critical that the entire organization is involved. Let me give you an example. One of the organizations I worked with, we had an innovation funnel globally, which was very tightly controlled in order to maintain the same level of quality and the same proposition across the world. We used to have monthly meetings, and if the decision maker was not there, and very often the decision maker was not there, he was traveling or couldn't be accessed, there went your decision-making power for another month, and you were gone. The innovation funnel was just backed up. We developed an app, and this meant that even if the decision makers could not dial in, they did use that app, and they could immediately pass the decision that was required of them, regardless of whether they fell off the call, couldn't be connected, etc. So they were online, and I'm oversimplifying it just to give you an idea of the process, but it improved our decision-making power tremendously. We found that innovations were flowing through much faster. Personally, I saw a number of innovations getting pulled up by at least a couple of months, which is a big deal and I'm talking food production here. So when we begin to, coming back to the point, when we begin to see mobile engagement for internal and external customers, and that it requires engagement from the entire organization, that's how we build it into a business growth plan. That's how we generate incremental revenue, because you simplify, you become more efficient, you become data-driven, and you're faster in your decision-making.
Okay, perfect. So, I mean, firstly, how do we get hold of that app, and hands up who wants it? If we can streamline decision-making processes, fantastic. I mean,
I'll talk to the highest.
Yeah, fantastic. Mohammed, in terms of from an academic or an academia perspective, how does that kind of relate?
So when we talk about how to engage consumers, there is a discussion about. I think the discussion started in 2010 when Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, he started talking about mobile first, which means when companies started to design a marketing communication campaign, the first thing they should do is to think of mobile phones. But Eric Schmidt, when he tried to motivate coders to focus on or to design their applications before starting designing their applications for desktops, he was thinking about coding. But marketers, they took the idea and they started thinking about, is mobile another addition to the marketing platforms, channels, or we should design a mobile-only campaign. So there are some examples. The best example I would like to mention here is the one done by Burberry, which is a British luxury fashion house. They collaborated with Google and Grow on to come up with an application. It's a mobile application. The idea was very simple. Can I talk about this or?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So the idea was very simple: is how to engage consumers on a personal level on digital platforms. So they came up with the application. You detect a kind of case, and then you can as consumers send your case to anyone, everywhere. But the beauty of this application is that you are involved as consumers to follow and track the journey of your cases. So this type of application creates a strong relationship and a strong customer experience with the consumers, and a strong customer relationship with the consumers have outcomes in terms of sales. It's more sales, more loyalty, and more engagement.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, Mohammed, so let's talk from a kind of financial services perspective. You know, are these kinds of, are these challenges something that, you've got experience with from a strategic side in terms of implementing some of those initiatives? And how do you think that differs to elsewhere in the world?
Well, in my opinion, financial services is not different, but it is certainly a complex. And within financial services, so for instance, if I just take example of insurance world, so insurance is really a complex thing, right? And there's a two-pronged kind of approach. A customer wants to actually get a convenient way of actually interacting with you when he needs or she needs, right? So the situation, just giving you example of, so let's say there's a customer A, actually his car is broken down on maybe somewhere like on Sheikh Zayed Road, right? And he doesn't know actually what to do, right? So if he has a mobile app, which on the concept which we've been thinking of working on, so this customer is actually, he's got a panic situation, so he doesn't know what to do actually. He doesn't know actually how to call police and how to get the car towed to somewhere, the garage or like workshops, So the mobile apps actually is a really a blessing for him actually at that time if he just press the button and it's get connected with the insurance people, with even the police department, So you don't need to do anything, and that's the convenience, and that's the kind of actually a sense customer wants to get from the kind of relationship with insurance or with different financial service industry. On the other side, in my opinion, from the culture perspective, in the financial service industry or be it other industry, it should be in the DNA, the customer first kind of thing actually. It's not just the KPIs or the profit element, So when you talk about the real customer you would get close to them, because you need to get closer to your customer in order to actually get things going actually for you and for the customer also. We are going to be a very competitive, and we are living in a very, very complex world, and it's going day by day very complex. So in this complexity zone actually, what we need to do is actually make things so simple, easy to understand for both parties, right? For your customer, for yourself. Infrastructure, usually what I've come across is one of the challenges that the infrastructure, So you from a strategy perspective or a strategy guy or maybe marketing guy and maybe the CEO or the board actually wants to do something like mobile engagement kind of application. But your in-house infrastructure is not built and not conducive to those like changes, So the change embracing that becomes a challenge for the culture. So that has to be actually brought into the minds of the people, that everybody is bought into that idea, so to make it work for customer and for your organization as well. I think some of the countries and the rest of going away from the UAE or the Middle East, they are far ahead of the game. For instance, if I just talk about, say, motor insurance example, we are still struggling to get the data of the customer here, right? The claim history of the customer, right? And the behavior and to do analysis on the customer actually, so in order to do a right pricing for this customer, because we don't know actually where this customer coming from actually, how many accidents he has, right? Or whether he had any accident in the last 10 years. So why should he be penalized with the same rate, the same price as is the case with the rest of the people, right? So he should be given a preferential rate, right? So that could only happen when you use telematics kind of or black boxes installed into your cars, where the car is actually is tracked your behavior when you apply the brakes, when you actually which area you drive, what speed limits you go actually, So this kind of intelligence when you get actually, only then you can make informed decisions.
Sure, I'm sure there's a simpler way of doing it though. But Nadeem, I think what would be interesting is, as an agency, I think one of the challenges I think you mentioned is that everyone wants an app, and I'm guessing you found a nice way to say no. But what other challenges do you sort of face in this region which might be sort of different from elsewhere?
I would say that we always say that we're far behind. I don't think we're far behind.
I
mean, if you go to any any of the, like, I was at Step, I think, a week ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, and there's amazing things coming out of this market. We've got entrepreneurs coming up with incredible work, you know, without naming, you know, Kareem, for example, or, you know, Duplace is in the room. You know, they're doing fantastic work, and I think we shouldn't feel that we have our hands tied. To be honest, what I find interesting is that when a brand wants to do something that's relatively tactical and gimmicky, they're all excited about it, and then the next time around they don't want to do it again, which makes total sense. But then where we find the challenge is sometimes we come with a really good opportunity with the best of technologies, because we have access to all of it. Let's be honest, it's a small world today. I mean, we have developers in Ukraine that we work with. You know, we don't have the geographical issues that we would have had a couple, you know, maybe decades ago, right? Yeah. So you know, we're very much in tune with the latest technologies, and sometimes the great ideas come to the table and they just get benched because it's not a priority. And you know, sometimes they say, oh, you know, Global is coming up with something like this, so let's just wait till Global come back, you know. Yeah. And reality is, you know, 2 years later, you know, Global didn't come with that idea, and it's just sat, you know, just in my desktop, you know, computer, you know, where I could have easily developed that in 6 months. So I think people just need to not be afraid to innovate. We certainly have the capabilities. We're very excited to help brands do the right mobile decisions, and not the tacky, gimmicky apps that sometimes get the attention of, you know, maybe a smaller subset of, you know, of a company as opposed to maybe the bigger picture. Yeah.
Well, I agree. I mean, there's no place in the world that should have, you know, as much mobile opportunity as this place, right? With the penetration levels that we're talking about.
I mean, the technologies come to our doorstep. Let's be honest. Like, you know, you're at a big agency, and all these companies that come up with this like really amazing capabilities come to you, and they say, we can do all of this. Yeah. And so we're like, okay, fantastic. Now let's find you the brand that works perfectly for it, right? So it's not for a lack of capability at all.
Yeah. No, interesting.
Yeah, please.
Ladies first.
I guess, and Nadeem's right, the technology is here. So if we wanted to work with it, we can get up and run with it. I mean, we are lucky enough to be in a region where we've got some of the highest social media usage in the world. So we can do that. I guess part of the hurdle to overcome is also that, you know, how do you change that traditional marketing mindset for people who say global's coming back with an idea? I've been there, and I'm really sorry. But, you know, how do you get people to go from a 50-inch TV screen to this size TV to this size screen? It's a mindset shift, and that's why it's probably being treated as an add-on. But yes, used in the right way, it's fantastic. I guess also the ways of using it have to be really engaging, like the video game formats, etc., are what really capture people and get them going. So I don't know what your experience has been. But just coming back, I think the obstacle is also, it's here, it's traditional marketing moving here, and once we overcome that hurdle, like Nadeem said, I mean, this place could be the stage for the world, because the whole world is struggling with mobile engagement. Another key hurdle that I wanted to mention was that at this point, there are 4 separate parts. There's the vendor part, which is the client interface, and that's where most people interact. But there's also the distribution of that data, the internet. Then there is the measurement, the accessibility, and then there's the data storage. There's a whole value chain that's there. And globally, the trends that are projected are that there's going to be consolidation. So it's going to be like proper agencies. So digital agencies just won't be the client interface, they'll be all of this. And so it's globally there's a challenge. Before we get to that challenge, we have to acknowledge that it's a big enough deal to integrate into our business growth plans. Yeah. That's when we'll start getting there.
Okay. I have another perspective on this issue, because I think that when it comes, there's a kind of gap between the brands and people, because when it comes to the adoption or the penetration of the mobile, we are second to Asia, which is okay, because at least in the United Arab Emirates, the penetration rate is about, I think, 82. It will be soon 84 by 1919. That's one. But the brands are lagging behind. There is no leapfrog in terms of adopting new technologies, and especially the mobile phone, to approach and to get in touch, to engage the consumers. That's one of the problems. The second problem, I think, is that in terms of The consumers, they are consuming media content on mobile platforms. But as far as I know, the brands are not producing enough content, especially in Arabic. Keeping in mind that about 80% of the digital content is user-generated content. So I think that the traditional brand should do more to produce more content. There's another thing, the third thing is that in other places in the world we have mobile-only brands, but here in the region we have some of them, but
I just want to comment on this mobile-only stuff, right? So while I would love to say that mobile-first strategies make sense, I think if you're an entrepreneur who's coming up with a mobile product, call it Fetcher. It exists here. It's a pretty incredible business. That's great. I get it. But if today when you think about investing and reaching out to people, while it might end up being via a mobile device, it's not necessarily by building an app. It's if you're on Facebook, well, guess what? 82% of people on Facebook are actually experiencing it on their mobile devices. So it's not. Don't think mobile first. I understand the concept of if we're doing a mobile-rich media execution, let's say, think about the phone, think about the gyro of the device, think about how it can vibrate, think about how it's contextual. Fantastic, but it's always part of a bigger story. So really, I think we no longer think of mobile in silos. I don't think it's okay. We don't think about it in silos anymore because I don't think that's accurate. The products that are going out there are cross-platform, and that's the way we should treat them. And big picture, really think about it, holistically as opposed to just mobile. Mobile is probably one of the most dominant, pillars, but it's certainly not, the only one.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I've been told we've got time for one question, so first hand up. Just, I think.
Hi, guys. Thank you very much for the interesting discussion and answers. The question I have is, at one point in time we reach the stage of enough is enough. I don't want to be exposed to more content. I don't want to be exposed to more advertisement. I don't want to download more apps. My phone capacity is maxed. Ad blockers are kicking in. A lot of people are adopting, and even iOS said, okay, I'll make it built-in. So we reach there. Then what? Should we think about it when we reach it? Or should we plan for it from now? And here I'm talking as retailers, as businesses, and you guys are the experts, especially in the media side of it. What should we do? How can we plan for that? I'm taking a few steps into the future here.
You said you're a retailer.
I'm a retailer, yeah.
So you have a brick and mortar. You have a location.
Yes, I am.
Well, you're in the most perfect place to do mobile right. One of the biggest struggles that we have as helping brands is that if they don't have a brick and mortar, they are limited to some form of advertising, some form of maybe immersive branded content that maybe someone like you is just tired of seeing, or can figure out that a brand is maybe creating this content to get brand love, which in my opinion is a very nice strategy. But as a brick and mortar, you have the luxury of infrastructure, and you have the luxury of tapping into your POS and actually understanding your customer as he walks through the door. I'll walk through the door if I'm a loyalty customer who has bought 10,000 dirhams worth of stuff. You can get pinged saying, Mr. So-and-so has just walked in the door. Why? Because there's a beacon talking to an app that I have in my device that has just pinged you to tell you that maybe you should take this guy seriously as opposed to the other guy. Judging from the way, there's always funny stories about a guy in like shorts and a t-shirt who walks into your store and you think he's not, that affluent, and he goes and buys the vehicle, the most expensive vehicle in that showroom, right? But, today you can know a lot more about someone just purely by having the infrastructure in your place. So again, I think I'm answering your question. I think ad blockers and all of that, that's great. But guess what? Ad blockers don't really work in in-app advertising. It happens on mobile web. Mobile web's like 10% of the mobile space. So
subject, I download the app. So if I have other than ad blocker, but I don't want to download more apps for each retailer or for each business.
Well, the reality is, people usually have about 10 or 12 apps on their device. So hence why we never promote building apps for brands. I think we should be where people are as opposed to try to redirect them. Changing user habits is probably the wrong idea. But again, there is an answer to, with technology, with innovation, there is so much we can do in the mobile space that we haven't even scratched the surface. So I think, there is always an angle. But as a brick and mortar, you have a lot of opportunities.
Okay.
The world is your oyster. Literally, m-commerce is like growing ninefold. So you have so much to enjoy.
Okay.
So I don't think you need to be worried about that too much.
There you go. So in summary, enough is never going to be enough. So so embrace yourself. Yeah. I think we're out of time, but just please join me in thanking our panelists. So Nahid Chowdhury, Mohammed Ashfaq, Mohammed Ibrahim, and Nadim Khoury. Thank you very much.